All right, welcome back to AI Agentic Bros, and today we are going to be diving into three simple n8n flows you can start out with as a beginner. Now, I've chosen these flows based off of one, obviously their simplicity, and also their ability to kind of go over the basic skills that you need when you want to build your own flows out in n8n. So nothing crazy. First, we'll start out with a simple chatbot. Then we'll go to a simple LinkedIn post generator. Finally, we will go over an agent that can scrape Reddit posts and then write replies and store them in a Google Sheet. And we're going to be doing this as a live build, so let's hop right into it. So let's start with flow one, a simple chatbot. So when you first log in or when you first open up your n8n flow, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have to add a trigger node. We'll go ahead and hit add first step. And just to clarify, I'm running this off of my locally hosted n8n version. Um, there are plenty of tutorials out there on how to kind of get one up and running on your own device. The locally hosted version is pretty easy to set up and you kind of get unlimited executions, especially when you're testing and you're first starting out. So we'll come here to add first step and look at the different triggers here. So trigger manually, obviously if you click the trigger, it'll start the flow. On app event, if you have a certain app or service set up to it, for example, it gives you some examples here: Telegram, Notion, or Airtable. You can have it on a schedule, you can have a webhook call, you can have a form submission, which we will be using for the LinkedIn agent. You can have a when executed by another workflow, which is basically if the workflow you're building is going to be used as a tool for another n8n agent, which makes this platform very unique because you can kind of keep building on one on top of the other. And the one we're looking for is on chat message. So we'll go ahead and click that. So it gives us the chat trigger, and then we'll go ahead, hit the plus button next to it, right? So that's the kind of the next node that it's going to be funneling information into. And we'll go to AI. We'll go ahead, click AI agent. And here we go. This is kind of the basic overview. Again, this is when chat message received. So basically, all this trigger does is it gives you just a chat box, right? So then we'll go ahead into the agent and source for prompt user message, right? So basically, where the information for the agent to act on is coming from. It's coming from the chat trigger, right? From the chat box. And then we'll go ahead and go to add options. Make sure you have system message selected. It's basically just writing out the instructions for how you want the agent to act, the knowledge base you want the agent to refer back to, if you want it to have a certain tone, if you want it to have a certain expertise. This is where you kind of specify that. And let's go ahead and zoom out real quick. Just want to make sure we had system message selected. And we'll go ahead and start building out our agent, right? When you look at agents built through Python or these other languages or these other tools, the reason I like using n8n is because one, it works and it's powerful, and two, it gives you a good visual. It's easy to follow, especially for someone who may not be as experienced with coding or may not have any coding experience or developing experience at all. So there's three main things that you have to cover. We made sure to select the system message. Now let's go ahead and look at the chat model, which is basically going to be the brain of the agent. This is the model that it's going to be using. We can see the models that are already built in to n8n. And if you want to kind of go outside of this, you can go ahead and hook up your Open Router account, and then you'll have access to pretty much any model you want. So for the sake of this video, we'll be going ahead and using OpenAI, just kind of the industry standard, nothing too complicated. You will have had to make sure you have your OpenAI credentials set up, which is an entire other video in and of itself. But let's assume you have your credentials set up, and then you can kind of go ahead and choose from which model or OpenAI model you want to use. Depending on which model you select, some models may not be as good with tools that you want to attach to the agent. Some models are better for certain tasks. For example, if you want to write an outline for an article, I would recommend using O3 from OpenAI, or maybe Claude 3.7. Basically, some of these higher level reasoning models. But for simple chats, or simple back and forths, or if it's not trained on too much information, GPT-4o Mini will do the job quite well. So there we go. We've set up the brain of the agent. Uh, Now, for the chat, we will have to have memory because it's going to have to refer back to things further in the chat, right? So we'll go ahead and start with just a simple n8n memory. Nothing crazy. Obviously, you can go into Postgres, you can go into Redis, some of these other tools that they have here. But let's stick with simple memory. Connected chat trigger. Context window length is basically how far back it can recall the conversation. So how many message back it can recall the conversation. Anywhere between 5 or 10, depending on the type of conversations that you expect the agent to be having. It should be fine, right? So we'll go ahead and set the simple memory up. And then there's tools. So as I was talking about before, you can call an entire other n8n workflow. You can code or write your own code tool. You can have your own MCP client tool, which is a recent update about 1 or 2 months ago that n8n added the ability to make your own MCP servers, and then you can also have access to these other MCP tools. And then there's all these other integrated tools into n8n. And then if they don't have the tool integrated that you want, you can go ahead. Hold on, let me click that again. You can go ahead, hit the HTTP request node, and then you'd have to manually set up your API. So for the sake of this flow, we're not going to really need any tools. Using this as a simple chatbot for a local car wrapping business that I'm currently doing the marketing for, just showing how to implement that into the website. And then look, you can go ahead and sell these to businesses, right? The upside with this agent is that it can be trained on the business details, and then it doesn't have to need any outside help, right? It can kind of run on its own. It's your own AI chat support agent. So let's go ahead and throw in the system message. Okay, so the next step will be kind of creating the system message. So I did that off screen. I basically just gave ChatGPT the link to the business I'm writing the system message for, or I wanted to base the system message off of. And it kind of wrote simple enough for me, and we'll make some changes along the way. So let's go ahead. If it's fixed, okay, so we'll go ahead and copy paste that system message into here. Let's expand it, and then actually you can, if you hit expression, you can actually expand it here, right? So, okay, let's start here. You are an assistant. You are a customer support assistant designed to provide accurate and up-to-date information about our services. So let's switch that to the wrap clinics services. Pricing, operating hours, and contact details. You can assist users in obtaining quotes, understanding our offerings, and connecting with our team for further inquiries. And then we'll go ahead and tell it basic info, so it'll know to refer to this information when having conversations with the customers. So basic info: operating hours, our standard operating hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're closed on Sunday. Note: for the most accurate and current hours, please refer to our official website or contact us directly. Right. So we're just basically giving the agent just guidelines to follow when it's having these back and forths with the customer. We provide the number, the website, the Instagram, and the services, starting with our prices. And I kind of cross-reference this with the actual website, so these are all good to go. Let's see. Note: prices are starting estimates and may vary based on vehicle size, condition, and specific requirements. Tells them about obtaining a quote. Our team will review your submission and contact you promptly with a detailed estimate, right? So it kind of guides them to that quote form. Okay, let's kind of zoom out of this for a second. I think this is a good system message here. And then before I get into the tools aspect, let's go ahead and open up the chat and say, let's just talk with it. Hi. There we go. Hello, how can I assist you today? If you have any questions about our services, pricing, or anything else, feel free to ask. How much would a full vehicle wrap cost? Again, these are very simple questions. This is just something I did quickly, but okay, let's see. A full vehicle wrap starts at $2,400. Please note that the final price may vary based on the size, condition of your vehicle, and any specific requirements you may have. Again, it's referring to the system message. If you'd like a personalized quote, you can provide more details about your vehicle or visit our Get a Quote page. Let me know if you need further assistance. So obviously, you can kind of really custom tailor how you want the agent to interact with the customer, where you want it to send the customer, and then let's take it a step further. Let's go ahead and hide the chat. You can give it access to tools. So we were talking about MCP tools. We can also look at the Google Calendar tools. You can give it access to tools so that it can actually go in and schedule appointments on your Google Calendar or whatever tool you have it connected to. You can have it cancel appointments. You can have it move things around. You can give it access to parts of your business, and it'll know how to kind of work through that. Now, I think that is beyond a bit beyond the scope of this video. I just kind of wanted to show how to build a simple chat. And then I know the question is, how do you actually get this on their website? Go ahead, hit the chat trigger. You will hit this make chat publicly available. And then you'll copy paste this into the code of their website, or you can go to docs and it'll show you how to kind of do that. It's a very simple process. I've done it a few times myself. So let's go ahead and hit that. So that is the first flow. Let's move on to flow 2. Okay, so flow 2 is a simple LinkedIn post generator. What we're going to do is actually go ahead and begin with a form submission trigger, right? So we go into this node and we can see that we've titled the form LinkedIn topic. You can go ahead and write a form description. The field name is topic, element type is text. So basically how this flow is going to work is you go into this form, you type in the topic that you want to make a post about. The agent will be trained in a certain tone of voice, and then we can actually go ahead and store that in a Google Sheets or a Notion or Airtable, because the LinkedIn API is very finicky and pretty complicated to actually get up and running. So I find it easier if you are looking to automate your LinkedIn posting or even your LinkedIn articles, that you kind of have it stored somewhere and then post manually off of that, unless you can find another social posting API. So let's go ahead, come out of here. It'll go from the form submission. We can go ahead and connect it to an agent. Now, there are ways you can make this. Flow more robust. One is that you can actually, right after the form submission, you can include a research agent. Perplexity has an API. There's a bunch of other. Maybe you could use Tavily. It's like a search engine for LLMs. You could set that API up as well. You can kind of have a research aspect, and then that research is turned into an outline, and then that outline can be sent to the agent. But for the sake of this video, we're going to keep it pretty simple, just kind of showing you how to go from one node to the other, and then it'll go into a Google Sheets, which is Google credentials are kind of a whole other thing. As you know, kind of Google makes stuff a bit more overcomplicated than it has to be. Um, there's always a bunch of different platforms, or like all these different tools you have to access. So that's kind of another video in and of itself. But we'll go ahead, set this agent up, and then have Google Sheets at the end of it. So we'll go ahead and pick the model. Let's go ahead, let's choose Open Router and kind of show you guys, walk you guys through it, because this really is a powerful tool. So I already have my Open Router credentials set up, and then you can access literally almost any model that's out there. There's Grok from X, there's Quen, there's Perplexity, there's 4.0 mini we covered, there's O3, O3 mini, O4 mini. You can have access to all sorts of models. One model that I do like to use when it comes to writing is Claude. So let's go ahead and look up Claude. And let's go, we're not going to go for a reasoning model. I think Claude 3.5, Claude Sonnet 4 is actually good. That's their newest model that came out. So let's go ahead with Claude Sonnet 4. Have that there. It doesn't need a memory because this isn't going to be a chat. And then tools, I don't believe we're going to need any tools. And then before we give it the system message and everything, let's go ahead and give you a full visual. We'll go ahead and type in Google Sheets. And then there's all these different functions, and there's even a Google Sheet trigger, right? Most of these Google nodes will have triggers, but we're gonna go look sheet within document actions. Let's take a look. Let's say append or update row in sheet. All right, so make sure our account is connected, and then everything should be in place. As always, kind of go ahead and hit save whenever you finish an important step, just to make sure that you don't lose any progress. We'll go ahead, create a Google Sheet, create the system message, and we'll be right back. All right, cool. So let's start with our initial topic. I just kind of did a quick test topic, prompt engineering. So you go ahead, hit test step, and that'll go pull up the form. You'll just type in prompt engineering, and it'll show up here in the node. Now we want the information from the form submission to be properly transmitted to the AI agent here, right? So we'll go ahead and click here, and on the left-hand side is where you'll see the output from the form submission, right? And you'll see topic. So n8n makes it very easy to drag and drop JSON. Obviously, you could just kind of type it in here. Because before it would be connected to a chat trigger node, and you would just automatically get an error there, right? So we'll go ahead, hit define below. We want to define the output or the input the AI is going to be receiving. We'll go ahead and drag and drop topic. So every topic from the form submission will automatically be put into its user message. Prompt engineering. Let's take a look at the system message we have. You are a professional LinkedIn post writer. Your role is to write clear, concise, and engaging LinkedIn posts in a professional tone optimized for credibility and engagement. Your objective, craft LinkedIn posts that reflect thought leadership or value, are easy to read and engaging, stay aligned with LinkedIn posting best practices. We have some best practices for LinkedIn posts, and then I have a SOP or standard operating procedure. When you receive a topic, when provided with a topic, follow these steps, right? Clarify the angle, write a LinkedIn style post, 100 to 250 words, have a hook, share an insight or experience, have a key takeaway, and then have a CTA or engagement question at the end. This is the format of the LinkedIn post that I want. If it says if the tone or industry is unclear, default to professional, friendly, and helpful, right? So, there's a lot of customization. Obviously, this is the whole point of AI agents. You kind of want it to carry your tone and automate that. Some other ways of doing that, you can give it examples of your own writing. You can give it examples of your previous LinkedIn posts, just to kind of give it, a look into how you want it to write exactly. And then we can go ahead to the Google Sheets node. We've connected the Google or the Gmail account sheet within the document. We're appending or updating a row. And then I just have a simple n8n, just an empty Google Sheet. We're mapping each column and then column to match on. I actually have a column in the sheet called post. We'll go ahead and see that when I'll continue on with the flow. So we'll go ahead, and this is connected to Claude Sonnet 4. Okay, cool. Just to make sure. So we'll go ahead and test the agent step. Now you can see it working. and then we'll look at the output, and then we'll go ahead and look at the Google Sheets. As I talked about before, there's a ton of different ways you can make this more robust, but we're keeping it simple for now. Go ahead, look at the AI agent. Okay, cool. Most people think prompt engineering is just about being polite to AI. They're missing the point entirely. After spending months refining prompts across different projects, I've learned that effective prompt engineering is actually about precision, not politeness. Here's what actually works: be specific about context and constraints, define the exact output format you need, include examples when possible, iterate based on results, not assumptions. The biggest big breakthrough came when I stopped treating AI like a search engine and started treating it like a specialist consultant. All right, so this is something that, I mean, you saw it generated in about 10 seconds. Obviously, if it was more researched or if it had actual anecdotes or stories, it kind of made some stuff up here. But the actual advice or the actual writings about prompt engineering are pretty accurate. As you can see, it ends with that kind of engagement question or that CTA: what's been your biggest learning curve with AI tools in work? It goes into kind of follows the SOP or standard operating procedure we wanted it to follow, right? So this is a good enough post for now. Obviously, there's some more work to be done with it, but we'll go ahead and then go ahead and test this. The reason I'm not testing the entire workflow is because I wanted to initially show you guys how to make sure the JSON is correct when going from the form submission to the AI agent. So a more efficient way would be just to test the whole workflow. The form would pop up, type it in, and it'll automatically go through. But when you're on your first go around, I would suggest just kind of taking it easy, going node by node, making sure that the information is being passed correctly, and then going node by node also allows you to kind of see where there can be some like bumps, where there can be some improvements. You can kind of pinpoint that a lot faster. So we'll go ahead and test the Google Sheet. Okay, problem in no Google Sheet. This usually does happen. Let's go ahead and see where, okay, the column to match on parameter is required. Okay, it looks like I did not select something. Let's see. Uh-huh. Let's go ahead and hit map automatically. That usually makes it easier. So I think the issue was it was looking for an input called posts to match on the column called post. But map automatically should just put it in the first column that's there. There we go. Obviously, there's a lot more there's a lot more customization with that other one if you kind of wanted it. So like to solve that issue, we would go ahead, have an edit field in the middle of the agent in Google Sheets node. We'd kind of change the name from we kind of change the name of the agent output to post, so json.post, and then it'll be easier for that to recognize it. Let's see. Yep. You see, in this mode, make sure the incoming data fields are named the same as the columns in Google Sheets. Okay. So actually, let's go ahead and do that. Let's dive in here. We'll look at edit node, edit fields, JSON. Excuse me. We'll go ahead and do manual mapping. Name, post. Go ahead and drag that right under here. Test step. There we go. It's called post. Okay. So everything should be set. Let's go ahead and click save because we made some recent changes. Just want to make sure it's saved. Okay, let's refresh that. And let's hit test step. There we go. Okay, cool. That was a quick fix. It's helpful to know that. So let's go ahead and look at the Google Sheet. So it's under the post column, and then it has this written out, and it's actually formatted. So that's kind of the full LinkedIn post generator. Obviously, you can have this run automatically. So another way to kind of iterate off of this is have the trigger be a schedule. So like once a day, maybe at 12 p.m., have an agent that generates a topic based off of one niche or field. So AI, for that example, It'll kind of generate a topic, send it through the send it through a research agent or a research API. That research is then sent to an agent that outlines stuff. That outline is then sent to our post agent based off of running off of Claude Sonnet 4. And then you would have the whole edit fields in Google Sheets, or you can find another posting API. We kept it simple for the sake of this video, but just to kind of give you some more ideas off of the plethora of things that you can do with n8n. Let's move on to Flow 3. Okay, cool. So let's hop into Flow 3. As you can see, I already have it built out here and I already have it tested. There were some more moving parts and I wanted to make sure that I got that right. So for Flow 3, this is basically a Reddit scraper using the Reddit API. And then we'll have an agent that goes ahead and writes replies to Reddit posts. And then again, I kind of left it open-ended. You can go ahead and have Reddit respond, which is something I'm actually working on, just kind of how to get the post ID into the API within the flow. So that's something that I am working on the side. But just to kind of showcase what else you can do, and this is a very simple flow. I want to drive home the point. These very complicated flows you see on social media, if you're on LinkedIn, if you see in these thumbnails for the different titles, kind of the army of agents or one agent that controls everything, or there's a lot of question marks when it comes to especially AI automations and n8n. Just because a screenshot or a demo is out there doesn't mean that those flows or those builds are necessarily ready for production. Um, Often people will download those templates for free and then have absolutely no idea how to use it. Something's always breaking down. The JSON's not always right. The tools aren't always being called correctly. It's just not feasible to actually have that in production. You're calling the model too much. Just the expense of that if you're going to use that every day. Now, these more simple flows are more practical, especially when you want to target local businesses or even any other type of business, e-commerce businesses, maybe with a chatbot, just to kind of keep it simple. So let's go ahead. I'll walk you through this very simple third flow. For the sake of the video, we have it on a test workflow, but if I was to have this in production, I would have it on a schedule trigger. Then you go ahead into the Reddit API. It's actually a lot easier to set up than some of these other APIs. You go ahead and hit have post. For the operation, we'll go ahead and get many posts from a subreddit. There's all these different functions that are already built into n8n for if you want to create a post to a subreddit, delete a post, get one singular post, search for posts, or in in a subreddit or in all of Reddit. Go ahead and get many. We're just kind of pulling, a specific amount of posts from a specific subreddit. That subreddit is the n8n subreddit, and then you can go ahead and set the rate limit. We'll just have it at 5. Ideally, I'd probably have it between 10 and 20. So it went ahead and pulled the 5 latest posts, right? We can kind of read through some of these. There are automation I can actually use daily. I'm seeing a lot of workflows and templates, but really curious are you using every day? What did improve your personal life or business when you started using it, right? So just kind of the last few posts on the n8n subreddit. Now let's go to the AI agent. Go ahead and take out the system message that I have. You are an experienced n8n user, an active Reddit community member. Your role is to reply to posts in the n8n subreddit. With helpful, thoughtful, and accurate responses, your tone should be friendly, respectful, and focused on solving problems or adding value. Reddit reply best practices, and then it has a SOP at the end over here. Just kind of basic stuff. And then, there's a bunch of stuff that the Reddit API kind of sends over. The one thing we want is the actual text from the post. So we'll went ahead and drag that over here. Kind of makes it easier. It kind of gives you a lot of information. We just kind of want to tune all that out and just have that go straight to the agent. And then as you can see, we have the 5 responses. So let's go ahead. Let's pick one of the posts just to make sure that the responses kind of line up. Let's see. Let's go ahead. I think this is the second to last one. The automated they actually use daily. So the issue is the agent is 100% going to make something up for this response. There's ways that you can kind of train it with your own um, your own information. You can put that in the context window for the prompt, or you can kind of give it a reference to your LinkedIn, or maybe your personal website, and say only base your responses off of what you can pull from here. You can give it guidelines. Don't make stories up. Just respond with more general information or advice. There's a bunch of different stuff that you can do. But for the sake of the video, let's check out what the agent came up with. Let's see. That's a great question. There are definitely some n8n workflows that I use daily, and they have made a noticeable difference in my productivity. One automation I rely on is a daily task reminder that pulls data from my product management tool and sends me an email every morning with a summary of what I need to tackle that day, right? So obviously the agent kind of made it up on the go. Um, the way to solve this would be to go into your system message, make some tweaks, give it some more resources to pull from, maybe go into tools, give it like Tavily, like the search engine, or the LLM search engine, give it more resources, make the agent more robust, and then have it, kind of throw those responses into a Google Sheets. Now, I would implore you for Reddit, be very careful. Reddit does not like automatic posting. If it detects or if it feels like you're trying to hack the system, if it feels like you're trying to just like post very fast on Reddit, like it's very finicky when it comes to that. So I would say be very, very wary and very careful. That's about it for today's video. I just want to kind of focus on more beginner friendly flows in n8n. Want to learn more about AI and how to actually start making money with AI? Check out our free AI starter kit. Link is in the description, or visit aigenticbros.com. We go over the basics of AI, kind of pull back the curtains. Then we go into prompt engineering and best practices there. And then we go over a few tools that you can start using, not just AI automation tools, but making custom GPTs, using Manus, just kind of having an entire toolbox at your disposal to help market for these businesses, to help grow these businesses. We went over just one of those tools in today's video. Thank you for tuning in. If you want access to these n8n templates, leave a comment below, and I'll go ahead and send you a link where you can download these JSON files for free. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.